Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome everyone. First thing we have to do is find out, did everybody get the minutes?
Yes.
And I saw there was a couple of small additions, edits that were done. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second? Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Deputy Supervisor Szymanski, EMS.
Okay, so Mark is here again tonight. Mark's working for us, so he came over in case there were any questions. I will read the numbers from last month, and the numbers are much higher than they usually are in the previous months. So, in the village of Pelham, we had 50 calls. In the village of Pelham Manor, we had 43. That's 93 total calls. And usually we average, 60 to 70?
Give or take.
Maybe, so that's pretty high. The response time average, again, is 5.4 seconds. On scene time, 19 minutes and 27 seconds. Transport, 12 minutes and, I can't read that.
No, 29 minutes was the turnaround.
Transportation.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about on scenes 19.27, transport's 32.09, and turnaround time is 29.56.
Which was much
Better.
Okay.
There's also another 10 calls of mutual aid in there.
10 mutual aid calls, which we've never.
Some of them, more than half of those are ones we went out.
So that's a big change in the way we used to do business also. As you know, the ambulance is still in the parking lot. We'll continue to work on a permanent solution for that. And I'll leave that to Dan.
Right, this time last year, I feel like
Was it high?
we were in the high 80s.
Maybe I'll look back.
Yeah, I think we were at least pushing 90, not quite there,
Maybe
but we
with
were in
sports
88.
starting again, I don't know.
Yeah.
Could be. I was on the phone with Mark last week, and I talked to Dan, and we asked Joe Jernan, and we're going to have the ambulance and the flight guard in the Memorial Day parade.
Ray's gonna lay on the stretcher.
We don't keep.
We're gonna put Ray
Ray
on the
the
stretcher.
stretcher.
Yeah, I'm gonna have the stretcher. I'm gonna back up the ambulance and wave to everybody. So that's a good thing. We thought that would be a wonderful thing to show it off. So.
Great.
We don't know where you'll be. We want you first, but I don't know if Joe will let the vets go first. You can go after the vets as far as I'm concerned. But you-
Pelham,
Oh,
yeah.
we go, okay. I think that's our star anyway. That's it.
The star of the town.
The star of the town. Any questions? I will look back at those old numbers, Karen, to see what it
Yeah,
is.
I remember.
Other than that, I really haven't heard any issues unless anybody else has heard anything.
I have a question for
Sure.
Mark. And I've been tracking it since January. 75% of the calls resulted in a trip to the hospital. Is that kind of normal?
Pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much the norm. I mean, obviously every situation is different. There are situations, not too many in Pelham, where we'll go once and then come back. Where they don't decide they don't want to go the first time, we might come back for them. The fortunate or unfortunate part about EMS response is that we're not given the latitude to tell people, no, you don't need to go to the hospital. So typically we're going to read them, the riot act, tell them that they need to go and why, and that's up to them, to make their decision between them and their family. And if we feel like a need to interject more, we'll get our medical control involved and what have you. But there are times we do go back.
Well,
And there's a bunch of incidents in there where we've had multiple patients. I mean,
Multiple calls to the same.
well,
day.
no, that's actually the same call with multiple patients, and specifically the Parkway responses.
Interesting, because I experienced that exactly what you said. That person didn't want to go to the hospital, and all he had to do was have his wife tell him he had to go to the hospital. So I got in the ambulance.
Yeah.
two stories.
I mean, the one noteworthy thing just to keep an eye on is the hospital turnaround, which is something we are addressing, we're working. It's one of our hospitals, one of our area hospitals is typically problematic for a bunch of different reasons, and that's Lawrence. So I share this report with my counterparts at Lawrence Hospital so that they can see what's going on. And then we actually have automatic reporting that triggers out of our documentation system that if there's any delays, they get a note from me. And we talk about it. So we're trying to do that because obviously we want the ambulance to get there with the patient, transfer care, and get them back.
What should the number be around?
Oh, for the turnaround?
Yeah.
It's considerably lower than it is. It
Like
should. I mean,
10 minutes,
to be
20
fair,
minutes?
well, I mean, it depends on the patient that you bring there. But I'd say somewhere in the area between 10 and 20, like 15 minutes. We have to pull in there. We have to get in. We typically assist getting the patient registered, transfer care, give report. And once you give report, the crews will typically say we're available while they're making up the stretcher. I mean, they could respond back into Pelham from Bronxville. It's not that bad. I mean, we had that one today. There was a little bit of a snafu on the dispatch side. It wasn't our side, and Westchester County actually dispatched your ambulance from Valhalla because they were up at the medical center to like 4th Avenue.
Our ambulance?
Well, because they transported that one up, and they're like, "Oh, we have another call for you to start heading down there." And they're like, "You realize we're like 20 minutes away at least." So they started, but the Pelham ambulance said send evac also, and it's just to make sure the patient, if they have to go quickly, which in this case, like I told you, they did. That patient got transported, and you still had an ambulance back in town. So there's a lot of moving parts, and the two systems have like a symbiotic relationship with each other.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to have this interchange. I have last April's specs.
No. I just wanted to say Philip just sent a text and said he put an outlet outside of the building so we can run an extension to the ambulance.
We had an issue with the ambulance died.
So,
Because it draws power all the time, and I said to Phil, as we get into the warmer months, we're not going to leave the ambulance running outside. So if we don't leave it running, we can't come out and find it dead. The power load stretcher is mechanical, so that cradle that it sits in constantly charges a battery between that and the radio. So if we leave it off for anything more than probably 20 minutes to 45 minutes, you could kill the battery. So we had to do a shoreline. Phil was going to tell me where he wanted me to park.
yeah. He was talking about possibly where the constable cars are and then putting the two constable vehicles
Where the ambulance was.
ambulances. Yeah.
Okay, so you're working on a better
Yeah.
solution.
I talk to Phil almost daily.
I know you had
All
trouble
good
with the
stuff.
radios too, the antennas or something.
Well, it was the program for the radios. Radios got sent out, but the problem was those 2 days we did the radios. We had 4 calls in Pelham at the same time both days. So we had ambulances like all over the place. We couldn't get anything done. But we'll figure it out.
I know you will, because everything. Once you solve one thing, then another thing comes up. So it's a constant solving of problems. We're going to have a table at the Pelham Market on 6/2 because it's EMS week. So we're going to have an EMS table. Katie, Colleen, and Jean, myself, Mark, Dan. We have a small work group together, seeing what we'd like to give out, distribute, what kind of educational stuff, what kind of goodies we can give out to draw people to the table. So we'll be having a subsequent meeting, but it will be June 2nd, and she did give me the time, like 9:30 to 12:30 or something.
Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, I'll send an email out to everybody, and we could put it in the Examiner too that we will be there. Yeah, we'll put the Pelham EMS on it. So last April there were 40 calls in Pelham and 34 in Pelham Manor. So 74.
Yeah. All right. 20 more is a lot. You're right.
Yeah, that's a lot of calls. So that's my report. Does anybody have any questions? I will say one other thing about Rudy and I did go through the employee handbook. We corrected what had to be corrected. I do have to alter now the COVID policy again because, as Kristen told us, they are allowing leave. I really have to read a little bit more into that to see how
It's
I can word
just,
that.
the COVID leave it's extended another year, so it doesn't sunset until July of 25. That was put in the budget. Everybody thought this was gonna be the end of it, July 1st, this year, but it's extended one more year. But I think it's gonna be the rare circumstance
And
that
it will
someone
be
will be
very rare,
eligible.
right, because the CD, yeah,
Right.
because you really don't have to quarantine.
That's
But Rudy and I will work on that. And we're also working with the library to assist them with their employee manual also. So that's still in progress. We're meeting Wednesday to start that work.
Who's meeting Wednesday?
Myself, Rudy, and Augusta.
Okay.
Would you like to join us?
No.
Oh, okay, because it's 9 a.m. and
Because it's an early meeting.
I'm not playing golf. Any other questions for Deputy Supervisor Zemanski? Thank you. Councilwoman McLaughlin, on recreation.
Our senior van made 50 round trips to medical appointments in April, which is definitely a lot. So everybody was taking care of business, I guess. During April, they had a speaker to help identify signs of Alzheimer's and talk about new treatments and things like that. They had a couple of happy things. The Silenoy Elementary School concert, chorus group came to give a concert, and they had sandwiches that day. I don't know if Silenoy brought that, but Prospect Hill fifth graders came and played games with the seniors. They also had the band Just Nuts come for Pizza Day. Yeah. And the Sakin and Buskin musical singers also came and performed. They had an action pack. Weekly exercise, yoga, bingo, card playing, Hokino, and mahjong still happen. And once a month they do arts and crafts. So very busy month for the seniors, and that continues into this month. For the recreation department, they are actively planning for the day camps. Orientation for directors and lead counselors will be at the end of May. Orientation for regular counselors and CITs will be at the end of June. And as I mentioned last month, there will be an orientation for directors, and it will include a child abuse identification workshop. All camps except for Prospect Hill will begin on July 1. Prospect Hill only will begin on July 8th. They are doing work on the playground at Prospect Hill that first week in July, and it should be finished, and so they're going to start on the 8th. Camp Mindfulness, which is for our children with different needs, it has not been filled yet. They are looking for more students to sign up. The Pelham Civics is offering full and partial scholarships for families where the cost is a hardship. So people should contact the recreation department for assistance. The summer concert series starts Monday, June 24th at 7:30 at the gazebo. Just Nuts, the band, is opening. Several community groups, including the town, Chamber of Commerce, Civics, Junior League, are all working together to put a full calendar of Pelham-wide events and update them regularly. And they're looking to house it on a website and send periodic emails for those who opt in to keep people up to date on that information. I know our library does a great job with their weekly activities, as does the recreation department updates them on sign-ups and things like that for people who opt in. The Pelham Together Group, the Youth Advisory Board, met last week. Supervisor McLaughlin and I both attended. Many community groups were represented, and the entire meeting was led by our youth. They broke into groups to represent middle school, early high school and late high school students and helping identify how we can be more supportive of these groups, offer more opportunities, and solicit their input on how to better serve them.
For instance, one of them was the flower pot.
Yes, they had a teen night at Flower Power a couple of weeks ago, which was nicely attended. Flower Power opened on a Friday, stayed open late on a Friday from 7 to 9. They had board games and lemonade and ice cream, milkshakes, and the kids just enjoyed a place to hang out and just be. And what was amazing was not a cell phone to be had. They were actually talking to each other and playing games. So they're looking for more local businesses to open late just for them. And then the idea, what happened there was they charged, I think it was, what did they say was $10? I think it was $10. They were open for 2 hours. They had about 20 kids.
It was a good idea.
Yeah.
It's a really good idea.
And they got a milkshake and a cookie.
That's great.
So one of the ideas at our table anyway was having a night at the theater.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, one of the parents had tried to do that, but it was, I think, $900 cost. So I kind of offered our services.
Right.
If
So
in fact I want to do it.
I'm gonna bring that up at the rec commission meeting next week. And I'm sure, Clay Bouchon will work with us on that.
Any questions for Councilman McLaughlin? Thank you. Councilwoman Burke.
Okay, from the courts, so for the in the month of April, Justice Kagan was actually covering the Greenberg Town Court. And he, just thought he'd mention that, very, very busy court, double the size of ours. And he just wanted to note that Deanna, our clerk, came for one of those days, just to, sort of see how they operate, and maybe bring some ideas and efficiency ideas back to our court. So maybe more to come, see what they learned from how they operate. And Judge Kagan wanted to note that the Chief Administrative Judge for the 9th District did commend Justices Gardner and Kagan for the support that they do provide to neighboring courts. So, Judge Kagan served in Greenberg, but they've done that with other courts locally. And
I wasn't aware of that.
yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
know that either.
yeah. And, the judge said, it really helps a lot, and they appreciate the support and the cooperation from our judges. So that's great. And then they also wanted to note, a while back we mentioned the translator services that are used every so often. There was a West African man that came in, and he only spoke Wolof, which I've never heard before. And we were able to use this translator to arraign him. So, but that was pretty neat. So that's it from the judges' courts.
Can I
Sure.
mention that with Mark Media, they've been very cooperative on letting us use that guild room on Wednesday mornings. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very
Yes,
much.
thanks,
They are
Mark.
really appreciative of
Yeah,
that.
no worries.
Thank you. And then, so a sustainability update. So Dan and I attended, Supervisor McLaughlin and I attended a clean heating and cooling presentation on Wednesday, the 24th of April, at the Durango Townhouse, and it was by the Village Sustainability Board as well as Sustainable Westchester, and they did this great presentation on heating and cooling options for your houses, everything from heat pumps to geothermal heating to insulation in your home, just like really great information. I thought there was a pretty good turnout.
I thought so too. And there was some really good questions asked.
Great questions. So, and then they had 2 contractors who were there for informational
Zoom, right.
purposes on Zoom. We're actually, it was so informative. My husband and I are going to be speaking with contractors, and we're kind of due to potentially get some of this heating upgrade. So it was great, and they're doing another one at the library. That's this Saturday. May 11th. I don't remember the time, but it's on the website, on the calendar. So I highly recommend anybody is interested to go to that.
1-2:30.
1-2:30. And just another sort of related is I spoke with a woman from the clean energy community, you know, getting us back on track. We are close to finally getting grants, you know, for our sustainability efforts. So working with one thing to get some information from the manor regarding heat pumps that have been installed in there in the manor. And there were 5 people. We know of one. We will finally get our first $5,000 grant. But there's a lot of money out there, and so they're, you know, going to be helping me sort of navigate that and try to get the town some money in the future. So, and just quickly, I'll do my reports. For the month of April 2024, Justice Kagan received an amount of $52,492, and for the month of April 2024, Justice Gardner received an amount of $19,698, and the receiver of taxes for the month of April 2024. Town county taxes for 2024 were received $14,668,411.43. Town county taxes received for 2023 were $11,162.50. School taxes received $96,568.16. School collection fee $811.19. Duplicate payments for the town were $18,664.74. Penalties and interest received $16,093.05. Liens $19,317.59. Taxpayers agreement received $2,412. Miscellaneous $410.60. And proratas $4,630.88 for a total of $14,838,482.14. I did that. I just did that.
I went to Haiti.
You went to Haiti and then
Sorry.
yes, no worries. Well, I did it in the reverse order. So yes, I usually do it the opposite. You're right, Dan.
They're just always a month behind.
I know.
Any questions for Councilwoman Burke? Thank you. Councilwoman Curtin
Library
and recent events.
and recent events. I forgot one. So the month of May in the Pelham Public Library is busy. Battle of the Books is back, and adults. There's a virtual talk from I'm going to mispronounce this, Augusta, Mini Doka National Historic Site. It's out west via Zoom. Interesting. Demystifying Medicare and tips on energy saving at home, which Councilwoman Burke just mentioned. And there's new museum passes available at the library, so the whole family can visit museums. And then there's always the story hours, and those are all on the calendar events that are on the website at pelhamlibrary.org. I think I mentioned this last month. I'll mention it again. I'll see. I'm going to ask the question. I'm going to see if you remember. Did you know what you can drop off to recycle at the library? It's a new program. Yes.
Appliances? No, that was something else.
Eyeglasses?
Eyeglasses.
I didn't remember I read the report a second ago.
This is the way it goes.
Eyeglasses
That's
and
amazing.
batteries.
Okay.
Used batteries, which you're not supposed to put in the garbage.
That's right.
So Tuesdays are. We mentioned this a couple months back that the library acquired I would call it like an industrial strength scanner. And Tuesdays are digitizing days at the library. So it's a new program for digitizing photos. I would imagine documents too, right? Like if you no documents, just photos. Don't bring your documents there. We're only digitizing photos. I apologize. And that's on. You have to call and make an appointment, but it's popular. It's a popular program, and it's working really well. They're 45-minute sessions. And then I wanted to just mention some of the events going on this past month and that were happening all over town. Pelham Little League Parade, where they honored Meg Paradise, was really great. I walked up, I saw Rudy and her grandchildren sitting in front of the town hall. such a fun day. I'd never done it before. It was really fun. There was the high school put on a performance of Into the Woods, which is probably what they went and sang for the senior citizens.
Yes, it was.
Like, I'm not exaggerating. I know this sounds crazy. It's Broadway level. The costumes, the sets, the singing, the acting. It's really, really impressive. So I would recommend the next time it comes around, you go if you can. And then this coming weekend, the Pelham Children's Theater is in its 54th year, and they're doing the Music Man at the high school, Music Man Junior at the high school, all Mother's Day weekend. So grab your mom and go see the Music Man. And I think I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you my daughter's in the ensemble. So I'll be this entire weekend at the viewing Music Man Junior. And our own Councilwoman McLaughlin was an MC at the 25th anniversary of the Huguenot Cabaret, which is really a fun evening raising money for Huguenot Church. And I saw some of you at the Army Field Band concert in April, which was so impressive. It was so impressive. The Army Field Band, first of all, the buses, did you see that whole operation? The buses that show up, the equipment, the instruments, it was incredible. And they did an amazing job, and they honored local veterans, and it was just really a special
And they
afternoon.
were really happy that they were fed.
Yeah, that was brought, by DeChico's, and that was brought to us by residents Adrian and Phil Chiami. And Phil Chiami was in the Army for many years and performed in that band, and so they brought it to town, and it was a really special event. So I just wanted to mention that. The other thing, I'll do this under old business, new business when we go. I just wanted to mention something about the noise. Summer, beautiful, springtime noise. I can mention it after your report.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's why you were trying to sell me a train station to go to the
You
The cabaret.
cabaret.
Yeah. That's a great event. That is a fabulous event.
Okay, thank you. So, talking about recent events, the board gave a proclamation for another Eagle Scout on this past Saturday at Christ Church. Luke Rishi. It's a pretty amazing individual. He's in more National Honor Societies, whether it's social studies, English, science, mathematics, AP Scholar Award with distinction, Model UN, first chair cello, a full-time school custodian for the last 3 summers, working in school. Really unbelievable. And it was a very nice affair. And I still say, and Ted Hooper is the scoutmaster. Ted Hopper, I'm sorry. They do an unbelievable job. It's just the amount of, there's only 6% of the Boy Scouts that become Eagle Scouts in the country.
Well, they must be all here in Pelham.
That's right.
Yeah.
Great, you're right.
My son's in the program.
Really do a great job. Amy Paulin was there, Chance Mullen was there, Maurice was there. It was a very nice affair. So.
Do you know what I forgot to mention? It just happened. The other ones all happened earlier in April. I forgot to mention the Blue Ribbon Day by the television. Which just happened on Saturday. So there was a declaration from the Manor and the village declaring the first Saturday in May Blue Ribbon Day in Pelham in perpetuity. So that was nice. It was a nice event.
Yeah.
And
Same as the Derby.
Yeah.
Yes. And Philip is told me that he's replanting, not personally, but he's having the grass replanted at the
Yeah,
gazebo. It's a little sandy. Yeah. So just I know people have made mention to me about grass.
Well, it's only May 8th.
That's right.
Wait to look.
And that field, and
So
I'm
much
calling it
use.
a field, is heavily used.
Yes, it is.
And it's not like your backyard.
And they have to block it off. So.
That's right.
Right.
That's
Right.
right.
We had
Well,
events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But people still go over it anyway.
Yeah.
Next week, I'm going to Albany for the Associated Towns Fund Accounting Seminar. Next Wednesday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, I forget. And hope it's not my, yeah, I hope it's not like my last visit.
Oh, God.
Oh,
I hope
gee,
not
don't
either.
even
Yeah.
say that.
So,
Don't even say that.
yeah, so that's kind of, what I have at the current time. So you wanted to do old business, Councilwoman? Two things, I'm sorry. We have a Memorial Day parade coming up, and we also got an email from the gentleman who's organizing the Pride Day at the gazebo, and that's June 14th. I think 7:30
No, 5:30.
5:30 to 8. We had it here at least, this is the second year, I think,
Yes.
since the Levy's left, but they used to have it at the Levy's house. So they asked us for RSP. I didn't understand why they wanted an RSP, because I had never been asked to speak and I don't want to speak. So I didn't know why they asked for that, and then he wanted to make sure that he acknowledged who was there. So I told him I would be there, and I think everybody responded.
Yes,
except you.
I did.
Right. So that's June 14th, that's a Friday, 5:30 to 8. That's all I have right now. More?
So just under old business, because we've talked about this in the past, probably last year at this time, the noise, there's cars with large speakers, and they park typically over in the Bronx, sometimes in Mount Vernon, sometimes in Rochelle, sometimes we hear it up in Chester Park, so it's really a town-wide issue. We also, remember the concerts at Memorial Field started happening last year because Memorial Field was open. So I reached out to Natalia Fernandez, and her office was getting emails about this from residents, and she said she was going to organize a meeting with electeds from all the municipalities, Mount Vernon, the Bronx. We asked NYPD to go to talk about what the measures that they're taking to kind of combat these situations. So, and then also there was a request for her to host a town hall so residents could hear what they were going to do. So I will keep everybody posted when I hear about that.
Thank you.
When she was at Pelham Together, she mentioned that she
Natalia.
wanted to
What did
hold
Natalia
a
what?
town meeting
Fernandez?
here. I had sent her pictures because there is a website where you can send in noise complaints, and I'm on that recipient.
Right.
And the speakers that they showed at Orchard Beach was unbelievable.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, so
And so I just told her to speak to you, Molly, to make sure she can get to the hall when she puts that meeting together.
Oh.
And as Maura said, she wants to get all the municipalities there, the Bronx, the Mount Vernon, so I think that's a great thing.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, even the pastor of Christ Church
right.
was doing an outside garden type party that day with those speakers at Orchard Beach, and they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
That's
They couldn't do it.
And in Mount Vernon, if they're going to do programming at Memorial Field, which they will, like we do Tunerville in September, right? But we want to be conscientious that it ends at a certain time, and also alert residents that it's happening. So you don't plan an outdoor party or an event outside of your house when if the music's going to be on that day. So that I think the communication piece is important.
I'm sorry, I forgot about that. Sam and I and Rudy met with TD Bank, Brian Cole, our senior relationship manager, last month. And I put in your package a listing of the bank analysis to show you what they do. They give us services, and our balances pay for that, and what's ever left over, we get this past month 3.35%. If you look on page 2 of the package that you just got, the excess balances, we made 3.35% on that, and that was that $192,000 that I showed you
Yes.
2 months ago. So what you have now is you have all the accounts. Now, there's several accounts here, as you can see. Some are for rec soccer, some of our main accounts, some is for the town clerk account, some is for the school. The biggest one is the school trust account where we have to pay them. So if anybody wants to know what those accounts are, just give me I will send you out something that will show you what those accounts are. And once I get my printer fixed. And you will also have the monthly statement of expenditures and income. But if anybody has any questions on bank analysis, you can even speak with me or speak with Sam. It was a very interesting meeting. During that meeting, a gentleman came in from a company called New York Class, NYCLASS, and he invests municipal funds, but we spoke about it. The only real funds that we have that we hold for a while is the county tax. When we get the county money in April,
We get it in April with the town, along with the town money. It's town and county, and then 60% goes to the county,
immediately
and 40% gets paid in October.
pay 6%. So that money, whether we could invest longer than a daily thing. So we're going to talk about that. Any questions on that? He was very, Brian was very knowledgeable, and TD Bank has a special group that just does municipal.
So they have an expert.
They have an expert, and he's been doing that for 21 years. So he knows what he's talking about. And the gentleman from New York Class and him knew each other immediately on kind of thing. So it was a good meeting. It was a very good meeting. Okay. Anything else?
One other thing I've been invited to the first QA meeting for EMS, quality assurance meeting. So it would be me and I believe Gina Iannuzzi and Dr. Lon and a few other people from Eastchester. So that's June 5th, I believe. I'll report on it in the next meeting. That's the first time I've ever been asked to go to a quality meeting.
Good, good. Okay, I forgot to ask, talk about this. So as you know, we're looking for an ambulance, a place to put the ambulance. We're looking to do the townhouse renovation. And in the future, we're gonna have to talk about downstairs.
And up here.
And up here. I think the first thing we ought to do, because I never did it until about a month ago, is I think all of us should go down and look at downstairs. So I think if we come here at 6:30 at the next meeting, go downstairs, just to look at it. So we're gonna have to put together a task force on how, once we get this whole building to ourselves, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna bring this department over here? Are we gonna take some departments over there? So I'd like to put together a task force on that. I'll think about it and we'll talk about it at the next meeting. The one that's furthest along at this point is the ambulance. But one part of it is where we're going to put it. As we all reported before, is land that Westchester County owns by the post office, which I personally believe would be a nice place to put it. But it would have to get transferred, and I don't know if that's gonna happen. George's work, the county executive is working on it. I called, I emailed, and I called the gentleman, Chris Steele, that works for the Westchester County. He has still not responded to my phone calls, because I think he's the nuts and bolts guy that would have to work it through the system. If, in fact, that does go down, that we don't get it in a relatively quick time, the only other place we could put it is out here. And I'll send you all the drawings that we received. I just got it yesterday, or today. I mean, it's doable, but it's gonna take up some of the grass. Not all of it. We have to replant those trees. But if anybody else comes up with a space, let me know.
Well, I mean, when I spoke to George, when I saw him, he seemed positive that it's something that's doable, so we'll have to.
Well, I saw him at the band,
Yes.
and I spoke with the band, and he wants to get it done.
Yeah.
It just depends
That's right.
who's that's under. If it's the Department of Parks, I don't believe we're gonna be able to get it done. wants to give up Park Lane.
Yeah.
And
It's totally empty, totally, nobody even knows it's there.
nobody else is there. That's
Right
exactly-
now, it has
Every
caution tape
single
wrapped
morning.
around it.
Yeah,
When did that happen?
When did that happen?
That's been there a while.
No, I went past it Friday, over the
Yeah,
boulders.
on the side. There are 2 trees, there was caution tape wrapped around those.
And by the way,
Not the whole thing, just that one,
I've been told that it's a lot of fill as well.
yeah.
So
Could
you
be
have
an
to
issue
put down
too.
pylons and stuff like that. But all I can tell you is we're still working on it. But I think next month, we go downstairs, we look at downstairs, then we put that task force together to decide how we're gonna do it. And, there's gonna be different people wishing to do different things.
Would you be adverse to having a space planning expert consult with us?
I wouldn't.
I think that would be a good idea.
Because it takes
Oh, absolutely.
it takes some of the pressure off of us. We're not space planners. We all have our expertises, but that's not
Right.
one of them. If somebody came in and just looked at departments and departmental needs, and we don't have to take their advice, but I think it would be good.
I think that's a great. idea.
yeah.
And
think
so
that's a great idea.
I have somebody who used to do this,
Oh, yeah?
so I will reach out to them to see if they can give us a couple of names.
I love
that.
that we can.
That's great.
That would be great.
That is really great.
We forgot to mention that we advanced on the ambulance grant after the last meeting,
Oh.
when you had mentioned that we weren't making progress.
Dasney.
Good, that's good. Because Senator Fernandez talked to me also at the home together about that as well. So Maura went down to the office and worked together with Alex in her office, and they put together the exact things that he believes and Maura believes is needed to get that grant working, because it's not working right now. On the other side of that, Amy's grant is finalized, and tomorrow I'm putting in all of the invoices against that grant, which is what I told you when I saw you last week. So Amy's grant is $150,000. We're gonna put in invoices of $149,000. Something about 300, because we don't wanna confuse anybody if we
Absolutely.
put all of the invoices we got. We're gonna save those invoices for the senators. So that will be done tomorrow for
Right.
Amy's grant.
Thank you. Oh, one last thing, Councilwoman Burton and I attended Running and Winning, a day-long event sponsored by the League of Women Voters for high school girls across Westchester County. And they had elected officials from all over, and we sat at tables and discussed what we do and what municipalities we work at and why we ran and how it happened. And then we left, and then they put together campaigns on their own.
It's nice that you've been going.
Cool.
Yeah, they did it I went
Right.
last year. They did it
Anyway,
every year.
it's a fun event. Future is bright. Those high school girls are amazing. Ask great questions. One of the people at my table was one of the county legislators she was from the Harrison area.
Mount Pleasant, yeah.
Yeah. And she's also an EMT, and she said, we moved mountains, and oh my goodness, how did you do that? Let's talk. She was very impressed. But yeah, the whole event was amazing.
I will take a motion to go into executive session and talk about a personnel matter.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Tom, we're gonna have to get you excused.
Yeah.
Can I go home, excuse me?
Okay.